Still in Seattle, driving down to Eugene for the game on Saturday against Oregon after Penn State's win last night in Seattle over Washington. I'm on the road, and T-Mac is on the road. Tommy, how you been?
Steve, I'm doing great, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. So where are you driving to right now?
I'm actually just running some errands because I have a week off from basketball, which has been good because I've got a lot of stuff to get caught up to before I head to spring training next week.
I bet you do. In basketball, you've been able to see some teams obviously up close and personal, which I think is really important to do. Who's given you an impression like, you know what, that's the 2 or 3 teams I've seen, they're pretty good. Who would that be?
Well, Houston jumps out almost immediately to me.
Yeah.
They are just so well coached. I mean, I just saw the Oregon team that you saw the other day against Purdue, and I was impressed with how hard they played. But Houston's the one that really stands out to me. They've just been so good. I was really impressed with Louisville earlier in the year, but I know that they've gone through some injuries. I still think once tournament time comes, they're going to be a difficult team to deal with. In the Atlantic 10, the one surprise team that I think, well, it's not a surprise team. It's a team that I think people in the country will be surprised about is St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Just a really talented, well-balanced team that I think is I liken it to the Dayton team in the COVID year that had Obi Toppin, the St. Joseph's team that had Jameer Nelson, like a team that could go deep in the NCAA tournament but surprise a lot of people because they don't know much about them.
Yeah, and here's the key with teams like St. Louis and Miami of Ohio, for example, which has been undefeated. A lot of coaches know going into the season they're good and they won't schedule them. And so that's one of the reasons why their strength of schedule takes a hit, because other coaches look and go, it doesn't look good if we lose to that team because of the name, but we know they're really, really good, right? Fair?
Yeah, I do think that's fair. I think that the thing about St. Louis is they brought in some transfers like a lot of teams have, but their transfers have fit the puzzle better than others. I look at a team like Kansas State, which fell to 1-11 in the conference last night. They brought in transfers that are good individual players, including the kid from Memphis last year that was the American Player of the Year and was the second-team All-American, but they just don't all fit together. So that's such a key in this day and age. I mean, I know Michael goes through it with Penn State too. I mean, it's the same adage of trying to find the right pieces to the puzzle to be successful.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Houston, because what really impresses me in this day and age about a guy like Kelvin Sampson, he gets his guys to play defense. And that's one of the reasons why I think they're so tough year in and year out, is that in a sport that is so offensive-minded, and he needs offense to win, but he gets his guys convinced to play defense, and you were able to see that up close and personal.
Yeah, and if they don't play defense, Steve, they don't play. He has, he obviously has one of the best freshmen in the country in Kingston Flemings.
Yes.
But he has 2 other freshmen, one who's playing a good amount, another one who I thought was going to be the better of the 3, who's not playing as much because he just doesn't understand the concepts, the defensive concepts that Kelvin's initiated. At least that's my interpretation.
Yeah.
But you have to play defense, I think, in his system, or you just won't play. And he doesn't care at this point. He's got a lot of equity built that it's up to him. And if you don't like it, that's fine. They'll move on from you.
Right.
But they're a good team. They're a fun team to watch. I do think what Kansas did the other night to Arizona is an indication without their main player of what they can do. I just think it's a wide open year, just like it has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, Kansas is now 9-2 without Peterson in the lineup this year, and
Yeah.
Arizona's a completely different team than most teams, because you and I both know how important the three-point shot is. The three-point shot really is not important to Arizona. They try to kill you inside and beat you 2 by 2. And I thought Kansas did a great job the other night, Tommy, of building a wall around the basket.
I think that I think the other thing about Arizona too that I'm really impressed with, Steve, is that in this day and age of transfers, Tommy he's gone to the freshmen and has relied on their success rate, and he'll lose 2 of them probably to the draft this year.
Sure.
But I think that from his standpoint, he's building something, and if 1 stays around or 2 stays around, that he's building for the future, which is a little different than what other teams have done.
Right, exactly right. In your NFL travels this year, Tom, did you ever get Seattle?
I did not get Seattle. I watched them a lot. I didn't get them. I was just really impressed from the beginning with their defense, and I got the Colts early, and what Sam Darnold has done is what I think Daniel Jones is starting to do, and I think it's a clear indication sometimes that NFL teams, they don't necessarily build around the system that's good for their quarterback, and when it doesn't work, they move on fast. Yeah. And I think we're seeing now that you have to give some people a little bit of a sense, a little bit of latitude when it comes to their development, because Sam Darnold was so good. I thought Daniel Jones before the injury was so good. Obviously, Baker Mayfield has turned himself into a really good player. Mm-hmm. I just think that sometimes you got to give guys a little bit more of a leash before you give up on what their potential is going to be.
Yeah, because that's one area I look at with coaching. To me, an important element in coaching, what are my guys, capable of? And what are their deficiencies that I need to mask? In other words, don't this is the system, this is how we play it. Because there's some guys that can't handle it, but they can handle 75% of it. You work on the 75%. Right? And some people don't do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually think that Bo Nix is a clear example of that.
Oh, God,
I don't think he totally fits Sean Payton's system, and I think Payton gets frustrated by him sometimes. But I think he fits it enough that he can work around it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And see, at Auburn, he didn't have as much talent as Oregon, and I did a Bo Nix game when Auburn played Penn State, and the whole thing you could see. I kept hearing he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and then he played Penn State, and Jack Ham and I looked at it and said, I don't understand what they're complaining about this guy. This guy's pretty good. And then he went out to Oregon and then he flourished. So.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I think he's going to. I think he's one of those kids that. I think there's a lot of really good young players, quarterbacks in the National Football League.
I want to ask you about now the spring training part, because you're going to go down there after you're done running errands and making sure you keep the home life safe here. It's well done on your part. I admire it. When you finally get down there, how do you feel about the initial, because you won't find out till they really play, but about the fit of the parts as to how the offseason played out for the Phillies?
You know, I did expect that the big things were going to be Schwarber and finding an outfielder. I'll admit that I did think that they would find somebody other than Adolis Garcia, who I think is a fine. Listen, 2 years ago, he was Gold Glover and he was an all-star offensively. So if they can find a little of that, great. I mean, they're not paying a whole lot in baseball terms. I am surprised that they didn't add another offensive player and maybe even another pitcher. But then I'm realistic to understand that they have to give some of these younger kids an opportunity. So they have to give Crawford a chance. They've got to give Painter a chance, because you can't pay everybody $20 million and survive. So from that standpoint, I'm excited about this spring training, because they'll be in camp, whereas a lot of other guys are going to be playing in the WBC. So we'll see a lot of them. So I'm anticipating that kind of excitement going in, and I'm looking forward to that part of it. As far as the offseason goes, I think Schwarber was the main priority. And I still felt like JT was a priority, because they didn't really have a catcher to fill his void. I'm surprised it was 3 years, but God bless him for being able to get 3 years, even at his age. But I still think they're the team to beat in the division. It's just after that part of it that you have to, you don't know what they're going to be because there's so much luck involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the matchups and short series and things like that. But to me, you just talked about the young pitchers. To me, hey, I'm glad JT got 3 years. I mean, that's all. I'm thrilled for him. But for the pitching staff and those young pitchers, I'm thrilled for them because they get to work with him. Because you see him every day, and you see other catchers on a regular basis. What is it about his ability to handle a staff that makes him just a cut above?
Well, the thing about it, Steve, is that if you look at, let's say, the last 10 years in baseball, if you're going to say, all right, this guy's a Hall of Famer, this guy's a Hall of Famer, partly because of success at his position, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that would fill the same void over 10 years that he has found. He just has a different view of the game than other catchers. And I think Marchand has that same view. It's just not as seasoned. But I just think that there's something about the way he handles the game itself that puts him head and shoulders above everybody else. And, everybody that's worried about his age, which I know there are people, and I'm surprised it was 3 years, is that I haven't found anybody that's in better shape from his standpoint physically to maintain a long season than him. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a huge plus because I feel like, take, for example, a kid like Christopher Sanchez. I think he benefited tremendously from having that guy behind the plate to go with what is already his natural talent.
No doubt.
Yeah. Bullpen's always going to be important. Now, they've got Duran, which really helps. But innings 6 through 8 to get to him, every single team fights every year on the 6 through 8 guy. Every team does, in my opinion. How do you feel about the initial feel of innings 6 through 8 with the Phillies pen?
Well, I think some of it is you're gonna lean on what they have already. I do think Orion Kirkring's going to bounce back and be effective. I think Tanner Banks will continue to be effective. The addition of Keller, I think, helps in the 7th and 8th inning because he's got enough to get righties and lefties out, and I think that's a really big deal. So I feel good about it right now. From what I understand, some of the funky left-handers, and they picked up 2 in the offseason, they think that they're going to be assets for them. I think bullpen-wise, that's what puts me in a better feel for them than the Mets, is because the Phillies bullpen, I think, is better suited for success than the Mets bullpen right now.
Tom, what do you look for in spring training, and especially in this particular year because of the World Baseball Classic? You'll see a lot of younger players. Is there anything that you're looking for that you're saying, okay, let's see if this catches my eye with this guy? How do you do that?
Well, I there's 2 things I'm going to look at is Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford, are they overmatched by a big league fastball?
Gotcha.
So they'll play a lot of games and a lot of innings. I'm sure defensively they're fine. But can they catch up to a big league fastball? Now, some of it could be delusional in the first couple weeks of spring, but they're going to get a lot of time. So that'll be, to me, an extremely important part of this spring training is to see how they acclimate. Miller's going to probably start in the minor leagues. I can't imagine he's going to make the team, but Crawford is anticipated to be the starting center fielder. So, how can he assimilate himself with the big leagues and the big leagues, the speed of the game and everything about that. So that's the main thing I'm going to look at. The other part of it is, and we've seen this with other teams, whether it be with the Baltimore Orioles or with the Arizona Diamondbacks, you just got to stay healthy in spring training if you're a regular guy, because otherwise, that'll set the tone for what could be a detrimental start to a season if you have guys that are injured.
Yeah, because the Phillies had to experience that a couple of years ago with Bryce Harper and so forth. And then a period of time last year, they lost Alec Bohm during the season. How important is it to keep that guy alive, especially his spot in the lineup and playing third base?
My opinion is that this is a really important year for him. and the organization because, he's not getting any younger. Part of the reason why I think they were okay with signing Bo Bichette was because he was younger than Alec Boehm and had proven a lot. So, to me, it's a big year for him. It's a big year for him, and it's a big year for the organization because of him moving forward. And, it's one of those, if it doesn't click this year, then I think they'll move on from him at some point during the season.
Fair. Tom, I will let you take care of all those errands, all right? And then you get to at least kind of settle down a little bit, and it's always, always great to catch up with you, my friend.
You too, Josie. Hey, listen, be careful on that trip down. It must be a scenic trip, but be careful on it.
It's a scenic trip, and Girardi's driving.
Really?
Yeah. So instead of 4.5 hours, it may be 3 hours and 10 minutes.
I can respect that. Remember to tell them quickly and safely. Quickly and safely.
Right. It's the old John Wooden. Be quick, don't hurry.
That's exactly right. All right, well,
Thanks,
be careful.
Steve.
I'll see you.
See you, Tommy. The great Tom McCarthy.